Just yesterday, the Chargers released their first official depth chart. So kind of what that means is it's the way too early, not final depth chart where it's kind of you're in the middle of some things, you know who the starters are, who the backups are for the most part in some places, but you're not 100% sure. Some things might change, some players might get better. For example, this is likely to be in the corner, but sometimes they're going to be this or this for players, and it's not the final thing. And although it's kind of leaked by the team itself, it's just, it's kind of wishy-washy. But I do kind of want to do a reaction to this because I do still find it, decently important. So that's what I'm going to be doing in this video today. And if you do enjoy this video and you enjoy this content, please like and subscribe. I'm trying to grow the channel, trying to reach 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year, and I cannot do that without your guys' help. But let's not waste any more of your time. Let's get right into this. And, we're just going to go from top to bottom exactly how it's written out here. And, excuse me. So, hopefully the photo will be in the corner here, and it will be there the entire time. So you can kind of see what I'm going off of when I'm talking about here. And this was posted on the Chargers Facebook and Twitter. I found it on their Twitter personally, and this exact photo that I'm using, I found off of one of the, top Chargers media personnel, and I did also retweet that on my Twitter if you would like to go check that out. My Twitter is in the link below. But let's go through this from top to bottom. First off, wide receiver 1, which, is pretty obvious here. It's going to be Keenan Allen as the wide receiver 1. No big surprise there at all. He's been dominant. He's looked amazing through training camp so far, and I don't think he's going to be slowing down anytime soon. And then at, wide receiver 2, although it's further on the depth chart here, you got Mike Williams. Again, no big surprise there. Just signed him to a huge contract. Now, here's the thing here. Wide receiver 3, 4, and 5 are, not a huge surprise, but still kind of surprising. Wide receiver 3 is Joshua Palmer. And although I am a big fan of Joshua Palmer, I think he's taken a huge step up. His routes have been looking exceptionally well. I think his catching's been getting better, and his 50-50 ball has been improving in great part to Keenan Allen and Mike Williams being there to kind of coach him up. But he takes that wide receiver 3 spot over Jalen Guyton, who was the primary wide receiver 3 last year, because he has that speed that the other wide receivers really don't have. So Joshua Palmer at the 3, I do enjoy because you can still throw in a guy like Guyton pretty easily, and it's not a big worry. But you got Guyton at the 4 and DeAndre Carter, who has been looking exceptionally well at the wide receiver 5, as well as a couple other pieces here and there. Like you got guys like Michael Bandy, Jason Moore, and Brandon Peters. These guys probably won't see much time. They'll probably end up being on the practice squad, if not cut entirely once the roster gets cut down. Quick note here, if you didn't realize, this is not the final 53-man roster. This is almost like 80-some players. So this is, like I said, just the right now model. Some of these guys are going to be in the practice squad. Some of these guys are going to be cut completely. It's just something that's important to note. Like, a lot of these wide receivers are likely to get cut. You're probably going to have 5 wide receivers or 6 wide receivers. So, like, Michael Bandy, Maurice Fretch, and Trevon Bradford probably not going to be on this roster when the time comes. And then we're going to move to the O-line here. No huge surprises, honestly, here for the starters-wise. Rashawn Slater just came off Pro Bowl. No surprise there. Matt Feiler is going to be that left guard position. I know early on, especially right after the draft, there was some questions on if he would get shifted to that right tackle position, and maybe you'd have Jameer Sawyer move to the starting left guard or something like that. It looks like Matt Feiler is going to be that starting left guard with Sawyer as his backup, and I'm honestly pretty happy with that. I think that Matt Feiler is a better right tackle than the options that this team currently has. But I also think that Jameer Sawyer as a backup is a very, very good option, and the depth on this O-line has greatly improved. You got Corey Linsley at the center, Pro Bowler, All-Pro, no surprise there. Zion Johnson, who was just drafted in the first round, has been looking very, very good, and I've heard a lot of great reports about him so far through training camp. And at the right tackle position, this was, a huge question mark for fans, for the team in general, and, constantly. So currently you have Storm Norton as the starter, and it does say or Trey Pipkins, but I do kind of find it intriguing that you have Storm Norton in that one slot. And I'm not sure because we only have a couple situations where it's an or, and conveniently enough, the last name is the alphabetical order-wise. The last name that is earlier in the alphabet is always first. Now, does it have any relevance to that, or is that actually what's kind of looking towards? Well, I've heard quite a bit of good remarks about Storm Norton so far through training camp, and heard that he probably has the front-running role there. But I do like Trey Pipkins a lot. I think this is going to be a very good thing, and hopefully they're both improving dramatically. My prediction was that Trey Pipkins would be that starter with Storm Norton at the depth piece. I kind of expect that still to be occurring there, but, a little bit, it is Storm Norton in that number one slot because he is actually dominating that much, or is this an alphabetical thing? Because as you look down, Chase Daniels is over Easton Stick, Xander Horvath is over Gabe Neighbors, H before N, D before S, N before P. Is this alphabetical thing, or are they actually the number one spot? I'm not quite sure at this moment, but Storm Norton is at the number one, and I think that's definitely something you got to take a look at. For the depth pieces at that guard position, or at the lineman position, obviously you got Foster, you got Jameer Sawyer, Will Clapp, Brennan Jameis, Trey Pipkins. A lot of these guys, you're looking at them. It's very good depth that this team has at the O-line. But again, some of these guys are going to have to be cut because you're only going to have 2 per position. Excuse me. Or less, depending on if you got a guy that can really move around. Like Brennan Jameis can move around for you. Maybe you cut an extra guard or something so that he can run both roles. You never really know. Next up, you have the tight end position. Gerald Everett has been looking incredible so far through training camp. At the number 1 spot, no big surprise there. Donald Parham is in number 2, which was expected. Now, I did hear that he went out with the injury early on this week, or maybe it was last week, and I have not heard any new updates on him, so hopefully he's doing better. Just don't know anything, and maybe I've missed it. Maybe I just kind of missed the fact that he returned to practice. I have been watching every video that's went up. Maybe I just completely missed it without realizing. But I have not seen Donald Parham back on the field, so hopefully it's not a bad injury. Hopefully he can return, maybe just kind of strain something. I would really enjoy to see him at the start of the season, as I expect him to kind of have a breakout year with what he can do. But worst comes to worst, Donald Parham is not going to be there. You do have Trey McKitty, and you got this guy Hunter, which I'm not going to try his name, as well as Stone Smart, which I think could, potentially make this roster and be, a good piece if Don Parham's not playing. I don't know, I just have a weird suspicion that Stone Smart's going to be able to play for this team for some reason this year. Next up, wide receiver, we already kind of covered that. Now we got quarterback, no big surprise here outside of maybe the backup role, but you got Justin Herbert, MVP candidate right here. Chase Daniels at number 2 before Easton Stick. Is that really a surprise? Probably not, because Chase Daniels has that experience, so if something occurred to Herbert, knock on that wood, over and over and over and over again. You never want to say that. I probably shouldn't have said that. But Chase Daniels would be that next one to come in, which, isn't a surprise. He just got paid. I do like Easton Stick. I think that he could be a pretty good backup role or starter on some of these worse teams. So, hopefully Justin Herbert's the only guy that touches the field all year long outside of the victory formation or whatever else that, if you're up by $1 million at the fourth quarter or whatever. But Chase Daniels is that number 2 spot. At the fullback position, you do have Xander Horvath, the rookie, who looks huge. He has good hands. He's been running well. He's not scared of contact. And then you have Gabe Neighbors at the 2. Again, I'm not sure if that's an alphabetical thing or if Xander Horvath is just really taking over that role. Now, I will say Gabe Neighbors was a huge key part to, the special teams the past few years here. So I don't know if I would say that Gabe Neighbors is going to be off the team if he's not starting fullback. I'm not quite sure because, special teams players are going to make this team. But if he's not going to be at that starting fullback role, I wonder how much time he's going to get. So maybe you don't keep him around. I'm not quite sure. I do like both of those guys a lot, though. I think Xander Horvath maybe takes that top spot at fullback. And I do like that thought, but it is either or. I think you probably try to keep both of those if Xander Horvath is the starter there because Gabe Neighbors' special teams has truly been incredible. At the running back spot here, Austin Ekeler, number 1. No surprise there. A little bit of surprise here, and I know this is the unofficial and this is not the final, but Joshua Kelly is at that running back 2 spot. Larry Roundtree's at 3, and Isaiah Spiller, a guy that a lot of people are huge fans of, is at the 4. Now, I've heard some really good things that Joshua Kelly has improved a lot, which is great. I'm a big fan of him as a personality, and I think he has it in him to be a pretty solid backup running back on any team. Genuinely, I mean, he's got it in him to take control, and just a really good personality. He's willing to leave it all out there. We've seen that with how much he was trying to get to UCLA, and then he does it. Joshua Kelly, I'm not mad if he's the RB2. I think if he improves a little bit, especially at the ball control, he could be a very versatile piece and a very good piece. But you spend your draft pick this year on Isaiah Spiller. Granted, it's not super early draft pick, but still it's pretty early on in the draft for running back when you have a guy like Austin Ekeler and Joshua Kelly and Larry Roundtree, who you all just drafted recently. But yeah, Larry Roundtree is also over Isaiah Spiller. I'm not sure. I know this is unofficial, but I expect Isaiah Spiller to be at that RB2 spot and Kelly at the 3, or maybe flip-flop those two, but I definitely don't think Larry Roundtree is going to be above Isaiah Spiller. Let it be known I'm currently working on a video for Austin Ekeler that should be up in the next few days here. So hopefully you can see that. It's going to be a very, very good video. I got a lot of stuff going on into that. I actually have a ton of videos I'm working on now. I took kind of a gap, if you've noticed, if you looked at my videos, like a 5-day gap or so, but I'm going to have a ton of videos pre-planned right now. I already have like 4 pre-recorded. This will be the 5th, and it should be like every single day in a row for the next couple weeks here, as long as all goes right. But, yep, RB spot, just a little bit questionable on the Isaiah Spiller, but no big deal there. Next up, we're rotating over to the defense. Let it be known, there's no special teams on here. So, although there's like 80 players listed here and you need to cut down to 53, you also got to take in consideration J.K. Scott, Dustin Hopkins, your long snapper, your return man, who likely is already on this list because you have DeAndre Carter earlier, but there's at least like 4 more guys you're going to be added to this list that wasn't here because of the special team situation. But now we're on the defense, and you have Joey Bosa as your starting edge. No surprise there. Kyle Van Noy is the backup. I think that's very good. And then just, you're really far down depth. For the D-line, interior-wise, you get Jerry Tillery and Morgan Fox. No surprise. I think Jerry Tillery is probably not going to get a lot of minutes. I've seen him a lot in training camp, which is a little bit worrisome, but hopefully he picks up. I could see him being a surprise cut. Maybe not too big of a surprise anymore, but I could see Jerry Tillery not being on this roster when the time comes. Austin Johnson, Christian Covington. Quick note here. Why is Christian Covington over Brendan Fioco? I'm a huge fan of Brendan Fioco. I think he's looked very, very good and has a lot of talent, and he has good energy as well. I think the guys that are around him kind of feel the energy and get a little bit want to go get the ball a little bit more, and I just haven't seen enough from Christian Covington to put him over Brendan. So I think Brendan Fioco could take that step up. Forrest Merrill I also like a lot. There's a lot of good interior D-line that I just don't think get minutes on this roster. I definitely think Brendan should be that number 2 on that D-line, though. And then you got Sebastian Joseph Day, and looks like Otito Ogbonnia is going to be right there. No big surprise there. The other edge, you got Khalil Mack, Chris Rumph, and Jamal Davis. I like all 3 of those guys. Khalil Mack, clear starter there. I could see Jamal Davis or Chris Rumph being that backup, although I think the order they have it in here makes the most sense because they want to see Chris Rumph develop, because Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack are getting some age. For the most part, outside of the Brendan Fioco, this looks perfect for the D-line. There's tons of depth, and they've definitely improved a lot. Now, here's the thing. When we look at linebacker, here's a lot of question marks. There truly is. Kyle Van Noy is the starting linebacker, and he was brought in to be a backup depth. So my question is, what has he shown to, reaffirm that he should be the starting linebacker? And that's not taking anything away from him. I think he is an incredible player that can do both those things and can be a starting linebacker. It's just when he was brought to this team, he was expected to be an edge depth. So I wonder if he's just brought that much more veteran knowledge and all that stuff, that he's, taking that top spot. And I think that's a good thing. I think Kyle Van Noy can be a really good piece at the linebacker position. So I am happy to see him there. It's just, I wonder what's all going on. Outside of that, you got Troy Reeder and Drew Tranquill as the next, linebacker up next, which, Drew Tranquill, I kind of went out with the injury. Looks like he's going to be just fine, which is great news because I do like Drew Tranquill a lot. The last kind of question mark here at the, linebacker position is you got Nick Niemann, Cole, Christensen, all these guys. And if you notice here in brackets, which, is kind of concerning here because normally that's not a good thing. Normally that means like IR. And at the bottom of the linebacker depth chart, you have Kenneth Murray Jr. And yes, we know he went into surgery, and we heard reports that he was starting to progress well, but he was still a couple weeks out. But the fact that he's in brackets and at the bottom of the depth chart really has me worried that he's going to start on IR and missed like half the season this year, which is not good news. I thought he was going to kind of take this year and be one of the breakout players because of, what was available on this team at linebacker position. I think he was probably the best next to Drew Tranquill, as well as what this defense can allow with the improved D-line is going to give him more opportunities to get tackles. So seeing him with brackets at the bottom is a little bit worrisome that he's going to miss quite a bit of time here, and hopefully we start to see him start progressing the right direction again. Now, at the cornerback position, we have J.C. Jackson, number 1. No surprise. Asante Samuel Jr. at the 2. No surprise. And now at the 3 and the 4, without saying or next to it, we have Michael Davis and then Bryce Callahan. And although I do like Michael Davis a lot, and I think he adds something that J.C. Jackson or Zont don't have, and that's his size as well as his speed, the fact that Michael Davis is over Bryce Callahan does surprise me, as well as I think it surprised a lot of people. Because when Bryce Callahan was brought in, there's a lot of reports from training camp that he was playing the slot a lot with first team minutes with JC and Asante on the field at the same time. And it sounded like Michael Davis wasn't getting a lot of minutes. But recently, we've started to see a lot of highlights from Michael Davis in training camp. He got a pick 6. He's been looking very good, a lot of breakup passes. And maybe that's kind of a sign that he's starting to take that cornerback 3 role a little bit more than Bryce Callahan has. And I'm not mad at either. I think this could be an either-or situation. But it's good to note that Michael Davis is in that 3 spot, at least for this moment right now. You got Tavon Campbell, who I've heard a lot of good reports that he could be taking a step forward after an injury, I do believe. He's in that 5 spot. You got a ton of other people late there. I've heard good reports of Ja'Sir Taylor as well. And lastly, at the safety spot, really no surprise here. Derwin starting. We're still waiting on that contract. That's going to be a huge video when that does occur. Hopefully that does occur sooner rather than later. And then you have Nas Adderley at that other safety spot. I don't really think that you can label a full safety or a strong safety on this team. If you had to, then full safety would be Nasir Adderley, but I just think that you rotate them too much that they're not even really a specific piece. And you got guys like Mark Webb here, Alohi Gilman as your backups. JT Woods at the 3rd spot for the full safety. A little bit of surprise. I think Mark Webb has, potential there, but I kind of expected JT Woods to be that backup spot almost right away. I think that his size, his speed, and just everything that he has as intangibles was almost exactly what the Chargers were looking for defensively. So, although he's a rookie, and sometimes that leads to you being lower on the depth chart, as we've seen with Isaiah Spiller, I still kind of expect him to be that 2 role a little bit more than Mark Webb would be. But, that's the list here, and looking at my notes here, I kind of covered everything that I was, really looking at. So, yeah, like I said, there's about 80 players listed here. You didn't even list special teams. You got to cut it down to 53-man roster at some point. There's going to be a lot of cuts happening here in the next few weeks, especially with, preseason like right now almost, a couple days away. But, that's kind of my initial reactions to the Chargers' unofficial depth chart that they released. And, I think for the most part, all of this is exactly what I expected. All of this is good news. A little bit of question marks here with the right tackle position still Isaiah Spiller, is he so far down because he's a rookie, or what's going on there? Still some question marks, but for the most part, this is exactly what I expected, and I'm very happy with how this roster is looking. But what do you guys think? Is this kind of what you expected? Is there someone else that you thought should be starting somewhere versus somebody else, or someone that should move up in the depth chart? And is there anyone else that you expect to kind of move down? Is there any surprises that you have here? If you enjoy this content, please give me a like, and if you enjoy this channel, why not subscribe? I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year, and I cannot do that without your guys' help. And as always, I hope it taught you something today. Hope it made you smile, hope it made you laugh. It's something that's really important to me. Affect someone else's day in a great way, because every single day can be a great day if we all just put in the effort to, put a smile on our face. And even when things are getting bad, you just take a moment and remember that not everything's bad, and you have had good things happen today, even if you've had some bad things. Every day can be a good day. Seriously. And as always, you guys all be safe out there.
But something deep inside won't let